If you'd like to be part of a small group, you can sign up through our app. If you'd like to be part of a small group, you can sign up through our app. Once you're there, you can click on your home campus located at the bottom of the page. Go ahead and open the Small Group tab, and there you can meet the leader and sign up. If you'd like to be part of a small group, you can sign up through our app. Once you're there, you can click on your home campus located at the bottom of the page. Go ahead and open the Small Group tab, and there you can meet the leader and sign up.
Hey! What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unite Community Church. My name is Cody.
And I'm Chris. What's up?
We're super pumped that you're here today. It's going to be a fun day. So, if this is your first time here, we're super glad that you're here.
Very glad.
So, we want you to get connected. So you can press the Get Connected button that will pop up right at the bottom of your screen.
Or you can actually watch on YouTube, and you'll have to email us. That's why you should join our online platform at unitecommunity.online.church.
As you can see, today's going to be a blast, so you don't want your friends to miss it. Click the invite button right now. Invite your neighbor, your coworker, your kid to join us.
Uncle, aunt, grandma, anyone. Look at this face. That's who you get to interact with. I know that I'd invite my grandma.
Me too. So, today is week 4 of Blast for the Past, and it's Taylor Swift week.
And so that means, you know what you can do? Take it off. Or, bad blood!
That's another one. I love, personally, throw it all the way back to the self-titled. I was sitting shotgun with my hair undone in the front seat of this car.
That was terrible. Do it more emotion. I was what?
I was sitting shotgun with my hair undone in the front seat of his car. He had one hand on the steering wheel.
Okay. We have derailed. Okay, he is not the worship man. But here's why I'm here and why you're getting blessed with me. So I'm the lead pastor here at Unite Community Church, and I'm doing the welcome because for this message, we have one of my super close friends, probably the closest person to me that's in ministry and doing different things like that, and her name is Megan. And so if you don't know her, she is a youth pastor over at 242 Community Church. She and I worked together for forever. I mean, forever. In fact, I kind of became her boss. She hated me. You'll hear that in the message. Totally fine. But we've done some of the most fun things together, and here's why I love Megan, is that she loves Jesus. When you think about who is a woman of God that exudes Jesus, I mean, she is it. She loves students, loves God's word, and loves Taylor Swift. I mean, I could not get her to stop listening to the 1989 album. I wanted to kill her when we worked together.
We literally had to have her turn it off so we could have her preach.
Like, literally, she was just singing. She was Miss Swift. But second reason I love her is because of this picture. Yes, she let me do some of the stupidest things. And if you just look at that picture a little longer, put it back up, you can tell she got annoyed with me. So, Megan, thank you for letting me grow up. And, well, now I run a church and I'm the same person. So that's it. But when she comes, look, I want you to comment, type in, give her amens, whatever you do while watching online. But she is going to bring it and rock us today with Taylor Swift, Shake It Off.
You see, 2 weeks ago, we also celebrated our big give. So we have a cool video to show all that your money went towards. Check it out.
Hey guys, we're here at Park Ridge and we're painting this giant building. Thank you so much for all of your generosity. Because of it, we are able to do that. We're able to paint this place and get new floors in it, and then it makes it so the community can come here and enjoy this. They have all sorts of activities, and the whole community gets to participate. So thank you so much again, and we love you guys.
So yeah, from the bottom of my heart and yours,
yep.
Thank you so much for giving. If you want to give, you can go to unitecommunitychurch.com, or you can download our app and give right there. But I'm telling you, we might be in COVID. We might be doing some things that we normally wouldn't do with online church, but I'm telling you, your generosity is screaming Jesus' love to the world, because you don't give to a church, you give through a church. And so with that, we would love for you to stand up in your home, or sit, it doesn't matter. You're probably in your PJs. So, but the bottom line, let's join together in worship.
Good morning, welcome to church. We're so glad you're here. Would you just join with us in worship today? Come on. Graces graces waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom, let there be freedom. Bring all of the burdens, bring all of the scars. Come back to communion, come back to the start. Run into wide open spaces, graces waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted, graces waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom, let there be freedom. There be freedom in you, God. Chains will fall, prisons shake at the sound of Jesus' name. And lives made whole, hearts awake at the sound of Jesus' name. Come on, sing it. And chains will fall, prisons shake at the sound of Jesus' name. And lives made whole, hearts awake at the sound of Jesus' name. Come on, would you clap your hands as we sing this chorus? Come on, where the Spirit of the Lord is. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom, let there be All right, wherever you are, if you want to just join us, maybe you can clap along, maybe you can stand up with your family, whatever that looks like. Can you just have some fun this morning? And let's just dance in the Spirit of the Lord today. Dance like the weight has been lifted, graces waiting. Dance like the weight has been lifted, 'cause you did it, 'cause you did it. Dance like the weight has been lifted, but give back my gratitude. Oh. And everything around me sings of something holy, and I know, yes, I know it's you. Your love is wilder, your love is wilder, your praise is rising
How we doing, Unite Community Church? Hey, my name is Megan, and I'm one of the pastors at 242 Community Church, and I am honored to be here with you this morning. I just want to say thank you to your pastor, Chris, who invited me here. I just got to say first, I just want to give honor to him. He's an amazing pastor. I've known him for a really long time, and if you are in here and are wondering if Chris is the real deal, he is. And so I just want to take a minute and honor him, especially right before I tell you this next story. So I thought it'd be good to tell a little classic Pastor P story here. When I first met Chris, he was the college pastor at a church I was working at. And at the time he was the college pastor, we had a youth pastor, and then I worked with our middle school students. And so our youth pastor actually transitioned out, and Chris became our generation pastor, which was overseeing all three of our ministries. And I'm not gonna lie, I was not happy about this. I didn't think Chris knew what middle schoolers were needing. I didn't really think he understood middle school, and I definitely didn't think he could preach to middle schoolers. But Chris was like, no, I'll be fine. It's fine. No big deal. I'll just make it shorter. And I was like, okay, you have to preach differently to middle schoolers than you do to college or high school students. And so we started preparing and ready for our relaunch, and the day came and we did our relaunch, and he preached for the first time to our middle school students. And the next day I got a call from a parent where she told me that her daughter came home crying because she didn't understand the message. And so first week teaching to middle schoolers, he makes a little girl cry. True story. But you would think that would stop him. Like, if that happened to me, I might be like worried and like wanting to stop. But he didn't. He knew what he was called to, and he was like, you know what? I don't really care about this. I'm just going to continue to go where God has called me, but instead I'm just going to ask people to help me because clearly I can't do this. And so I love that Chris had this laser sharp focus that no matter what people started to say, and people came against him saying they didn't think the generation ministry was going to work. They didn't think that model was a good model. And people all of a sudden started to say things to him, and he was just like, you know what? I'm going to shake it off. I'm going to keep going to what God has called for me. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about this song called Shake It Off. And for me, I love this song by Taylor Swift. One, I'm kind of a Taylor Swift fan, not super huge, but I do enjoy her music, although Chris thinks I'm obsessed with her. I'm not. But I do like Taylor Swift. And when this song came out, I just loved it. It was like one of my favorite songs. I had it on repeat all the time because I was just like, man, I understand this idea of like wanting to just shake off all the people that are trying to say negativity towards you. And I love this song. And when I started to think about it and how it would relate to a message, I was like, man, the first verse that popped into my head was a verse from Hebrews. And I love this verse because I think it's so clearly talking about shake it off. It's so good in here. You'll see in a minute that I think like we could almost substitute a word for it if we were to put it in today's language. Because here's what it says in Hebrews 12, 1-3. Therefore, since you are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. We'll talk about that in a second. It says, let us throw off, shake off. Let us shake off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles us. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of God. Consider him who endured such oppression from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. So it talks about, hey, in this verse it says, hey, throw off, or for this purpose, I'm going to say shake off everything that hinders you in your race marked out for you. See, God has a plan and a purpose for you. He has a race marked out for you. And that's what we've been talking about during this whole series, right? That we've been trying to encourage you to take next steps, to move forward in your relationship with you, to go after the thing that God has called you to do. As we go towards that, our goal is being with Jesus. And it's going to take for some of us to shake off things that are slowing us down, that are hindering us in our race. And as I was thinking about that idea, you know what came to my head? I just started picturing this idea of a mud run. Have you guys ever seen those mud runs? I have never done one. I am not a runner, but I've seen those things. And I started hearing about one specific one back in the day, and it was called the Tough Mudder. And maybe you've heard about this, but if you want to sign up to be in the Tough Mudder, you literally have to sign a waiver that includes that you might die and you can't sue them if you die, which is crazy. People do this race all the time too. And the point of the race is that they make these obstacles so tough that you might not finish, that you might quit the race. And as I was thinking about that, but man, the same thing happens to us in our faith, in our race, is that we have an enemy who tries to put obstacles in our way so that we quit the race. We have an enemy named Satan who is trying to deceive us, to stop us from finishing the race that God has set for us. And he's making it as hard as possible. And so when we start to encounter these obstacles that we're going through, we got to shake them off. And I believe that there are 3 obstacles that we need to shake off in order to continue the race that we have. And the first one is that we got to shake off some haters, right? I don't know about you, but sometimes I have this feeling that people are the worst. I mean, I love people. I'm a Christian. I love people. But can we just be honest that sometimes, man, they can be so rough, especially when you step into something new. Maybe for you, you started this new diet and trying to get healthy, and all of a sudden people started coming and saying, are you sure you should do that? Like, are you going to quit again? All these things that happen when you start to step into something new. Or maybe it's a new job opportunity and people start to say things about that. Or even worse, what if you just decide you wanted to step into this relationship with Jesus and to actually go forward in the plan and the race that he has for you, and people start to come and weigh you down? And if we remember back in that verse in Hebrews, it says that there was since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. What's so awesome is that this race that we have, we aren't the only ones who have ever finished. We have people who have gone before us who have finished this race. And one of them is this guy named Joseph. And we're going to talk about him today. And as we talk about Joseph, we're going to see that he encountered some haters as well. And maybe you've heard of this guy named Joseph. Some of you who have heard of him maybe have heard of the Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. That's pretty popular way to remember him. But Joseph was one of Jacob's sons. He was one of 12. And Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other sons. And so he gave him a robe, an ornate robe that he had given to him. And to be honest, when he got this, his brothers were pretty jealous of him. And I mean, I get it. I understand. Can you imagine your siblings, you getting something completely amazing and the rest of them getting nothing? If that happened to me and my sister got something that I didn't get, I'd be pretty upset. I'd be pretty jealous. But then to break it down even further in this story, Joseph has this dream where all of a sudden he has this dream where people are, there's stars bowing down and he's one of the stars. And he's like, man, I have this dream that my siblings and my parents are going to bow down to me one day. And you know what Joseph does? Probably not the best idea or the wisest. He goes and he tells his brothers this dream. Now, can you see that? He's sitting there telling his brothers, hey, one day you guys are going to bow down to me and I'm going to be your leader. And his brothers at that point are like, is he kidding me? I can't believe he thinks that. They probably are starting to think some really worse things. But, he is family, right? But for them, it's nope. This is what it says in Genesis 37. It says, Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. They hated him even more. And why? Because whenever you aspire to do great things with your life, there will always be haters who come out. In fact, it's said that if you want, the fastest way to create an enemy is to do something great. And it's true, because haters are gonna hate. Can anyone relate to that? I know I can. You see, I've been in ministry for 15 years, and I never knew that in order to get haters, you just had to be a woman in ministry. It's true. I've had so many things have been said about to me because I was a woman in ministry. And then when I started doing full-time at a church, I got people hating me for saying, oh, are you sure you want to quit your other job? Like, that doesn't seem stable working at a church. And then, if to not top it off at all, I felt like God had called me to be a foster parent. And I never knew how many people had opinions about single women being foster parents. But they did. They started to say to me, are you sure you can handle being a mom and working full-time? Or they started to say, are you sure you want to do that? Like, that seems a little risky. Like, aren't you going to be too attached to them? Yes, that's the point. But the worst one of that is they're saying, oh, wouldn't it be better if they were in a two-parent home? Yes, that would be better, but that's plan A, and we're at plan Z with foster care. So you know what? I'm going to step in, I'm going to love them, I'm going to give them a home, and I'm going to care for them and point them to Jesus, who is the ultimate father. And so I just had to shake these haters off. And that's how it's going to happen for you. You might have haters coming at you, and you got to just shake it off. Shake it off. And the second thing we got to shake off is we got to shake off some circumstances. And that's where we're going to jump back into Joseph's story. We pick up verse 23. Things get a little crazy here. Genesis 37:23 says this. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the ornate robe he was wearing, and they took him and threw him into the cistern. The cistern was empty and there was no water in it. Can we just go, whew. The cistern's like a well. Like, they threw him into a well and they're like, oh, hope you can, swim. But luckily there was no water in it. He was okay. I thought maybe, reading the story that he was going to die, but nope. But they do go to lunch and start talking about it, right? Trying to figure out what they're going to do with him. And so 26 says this, Judah said to his brothers, what will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. His brothers agreed. So when the Midianite merchants came by, his brother pulled Joseph up and out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. So Joseph was sold into slavery. Talk about some bad circumstances. But if we can be honest, I feel like 2020 has maybe been some worse circumstances, right? We have job loss. We have health issues. We have now being isolated from family and friends, or maybe even worse, being isolated with our family can be even harder. 2020 has brought some of the worst circumstances into our lives, and it probably culminated for some of you with even other circumstances before this all happened. Maybe going into 2020, you were already having marriage issues or issues with your kids. Maybe you are already having strain in your job, and now coming into 2020, you have to try to work at home and parent your kids at the same time. Maybe you already had friends or family members who had some health issues, and now you have to, on top of worrying about their health issues, now worry about this other possible health concern that can happen. Circumstances can happen, and man, they can shake us to the core. They can try to stop us from doing the plan that God has for us. And I'm not saying it'll be easy for us to shake off all the circumstances, because it's not. It's not going to be an easy shake off and say, okay, I'm going to shake it off like the haters. Because sometimes our circumstances aren't necessarily things we can shake off, but we have to trudge through and move forward through, and that God actually accomplishes his plan through our circumstances. And that's what happened with Joseph. If we read on to the story, we know that it's because he went into slavery that eventually his dream came true, that he was able to accomplish that vision that God had, and it only happened because of the fact that he actually was thrown into slavery. What somebody meant for evil, God meant for good. It's the same thing with us. Circumstances can be the way that God uses his plan through you. And I realize, I get it, this is not easy to talk about circumstances. Some of you right now are dealing with real things, and I know those things. A few years ago, I was having a really hard season of my life. I worked at a church, and honestly, it was a little bit rough. You see, I really wanted to go to a different position, but they didn't really want me to. And so eventually I had to watch somebody else get the position I wanted, who honestly I didn't feel like was as qualified as I was for the position. And so then fast forward a little bit, I had 2 young little kids. And if you can imagine, being a single mom of 2 kids is stress. But then on top of that, one of them had a little bit of some behavioral issues that made it really tough. So things were hard at work, things were hard at home, and personally, I felt very alone dealing with foster care and the weight of ministry as well. And then things got worse. And there was a day I had a meeting where he started to say that it felt like we were going in different directions. Have you been there? And this is where we have to see that God is bigger than our circumstances. And this is huge because oftentimes the world is crashing around on us and we assume the worst of God, the worst of ourselves, and we question. It doesn't even seem like God is opening any doors. Maybe my race is over. Have you been there? Because that's when the enemy will come in and start to lie to us. He will start to say things to us. He will start to whisper things in our hearts saying, you know what? I'm not good enough. I can't do this. And we start to question where God is. And that's the third thing we're going to talk about, is that we need to shake off lies. And Joseph dealt with some big lies in his life. And so we pick up the story of Joseph. Joseph is actually serving as a slave in Potiphar's house. And Potiphar's wife comes up to him and is like, hey, I like you. I want you to come to bed with me. And starts to try to convince him to come to bed. But Joseph was a man of God. And he was like, nope, I can't do that. You're my master's wife. No way. And it got so bad that one day she tried to grab him and pull him into bed. And he literally runs off, leaving his coat in her hand. And that's when she said, you know what, I'm going to use this to try to accuse him of attacking me. And so we pick up the story in Genesis 39:16. She kept his cloak beside her until his master came home, and then told this story. That Hebrew slave you brought us came to me and made a sport out of me. But as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house. When his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, this is how your slaves treated me. He burned with anger. Joseph's master took him and put him into prison where the king's prisoners were confined. So Joseph gets put into prison. And I believe, though, that the same thing happens to us. And I'm not talking physically, but spiritually, but mentally. That when we have these lies that come at us, and we start to believe them, they put us into a prison where we start to believe the things that are lies. Maybe you're believing that you're not good enough, that you believe that God isn't in this, that he's not there, that he's abandoned you. Maybe you start to believe that you can't do the thing that God has called you to. But those are lies. And I know them. I know those lies too well because I remember the lies that I started to believe, where I started to believe that God didn't call me to that God would never use me, that I wasn't qualified for that position, that that no one liked me, that I had no friends, and that I was going to be alone. And those are lies. Because if God has called you to your race, he will qualify you for that race. He will be there in your help. He will not leave you alone. He will not abandon you. He is there. He is God in that situation. He will never leave you. We know this, that God will never leave you. He loves you and he wants to lavish his love on us. This is what it says in 1 John 3:1-2. See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. And that is what we are. The reason the world does not know us and seemingly against us is because it did not know him. God is for you and he is with you and he will not leave you. Even when circumstances are hard, even when haters come on you, even when lies start to tell you, God is with you. So when haters are going to hate, you need to shake it off. When the circumstances suck, shake it off. When lies are coming at you, when you start to think that you're not good enough, that God isn't with you, you need to shake those off. Shake it off. And I know, right? There's pushback on that. You're saying, Megan, that all sounds great, but I don't think God can use me. You don't know what I've done. You don't know the things that I've done in my past. I'm broken. I've sinned. I've messed up. You are not too far gone. God can use you. Remember, in Hebrews it says this, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin, the mess up, the brokenness that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Now look, There's no excuse for sin. But that doesn't disqualify you. Actually, I think that sin is a precursor of us jumping into God's story, that we've all sinned, we've all fallen short, and yet God uses and chooses to use us anyways, even if we're messed up. We see this in the scripture so much, that God has used so many people, even though they've messed up and they've failed time after time again, God will use you still. We have a race that was designed and destined for us. And I'm not sure what your race entails. Mine includes middle school ministry, being a foster parent, helping young women in leadership roles. That's my race. So I'm not sure what your race is, but you are called to this race, and you need to continue to endure, to go through, to shake off everything that hinders you. And I realize it's going to be hard. There's going to be hard things that are coming in our way. There's going to be haters. There's going to be circumstances. There's going to be lies. Maybe even there's sin that we need to shake it off. Shake it off in order to run the race that God has called you. Because guess what? When we get to the end, the prize is Jesus. The prize is that we get to be with him in paradise. The prize is that we get, well done, my good and faithful servant. Run your race. Because when we look back at our life, it's not going to matter the circumstances. It's not going to matter the people who are saying something. It's not going to matter the lies. It's not going to matter the sin. The only thing that's going to matter is did we finish the race? Did we run the race that God has set before us? So run your race. Shake off everything that hinders and look towards Jesus. Fix your eyes on him, the perfecter of our faith. Because man, if you do that, I can't imagine what would happen if this little church had a bunch of people who were running their race. I can imagine that in 5-10 years, there would be about 50 United Community Churches all around, not just in 2 locations, but now 50 across all of Michigan, because you have people who are so on fire and ready to go and run the race that God has for them. So run your race, because at the end, we're going to meet Jesus, and that's what's going to matter. So let's pray. God, I just thank you so much for every single person watching this this morning. And I pray that you would help us to run our race, God. No matter if haters come against us, circumstances, or lies, God, let's just shake it off so that we can run towards you. God, we love you. We thank you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Who am I that the highest would welcome? I was lost, but he brought me his love for his love. Who the Son sets free, who is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last, he has ransomed his grace was there. While I just want to read Romans 8:15. The spirit you received does not make you slaves so that you live in fear again. Rather, the spirit you received brought about your adoption to sonship. And by him we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. Come on, as God's children today, can we just lift up our praise to Abba, Father right now and just sing holy, that he has chosen us, that we are his children, that we have the inheritance that he's given us. Come on, sing it with me. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Come on, sing. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Yes I am. Hallelujah. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in this place. I worship you. I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. that you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. We declare that is who you are. Miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. And 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 that is who you are. Will always be. That is who you are. And that is who you are. And that is who you are. And that is who you are. Oh, hallelujah. Waymaker, Jesus.
Man, that was awesome. Thank you again, Megan, for coming and preaching today. Let's give it up for her. On Sunday, be sure to check out our in-person gatherings that are taking place in Ypsi and Downriver. Also, join us again next week as we're starting a brand new service and invite a friend. See you next week.